It's September 27th, 2024. I am Natural Pearl, and it's time to get in the weeds. A happy Friday to you. It is sunny and wonderful here in the city of Toronto. Hopefully, the beginnings of your weekend are as well. Jeremy Lambert is here, as he always is. Jeremy, good morning. How are you doing?
Well, how are you, Joel?
Oh, you know, excited, ready to go. Ready for the time of my life. Is someone already taking over the show?
I'm trying to see. So the cat is in the room. I'm trying to see how long before she decides, get me out of here. She's going, she does this thing where she goes behind the dresser, and that's where like she's looking to go right now. She might actually like try to jump up onto the dresser. We have a vent. She might be trying to die hard and go through the vent over here. Sometimes she'll just be really lazy and not do anything. And then other times, like right now, she'll be very curious and just try to figure out, like she's never been in this room before. It's not like we change it around or anything. Right now, she's just going to chill. We'll see. Adventures in the Catland here.
Look, if you really want her to just up and be like, get me out of here, just start talking about professional wrestling.
Yeah, fair.
Just talk about hey, how about that Dynamite Grand Slam? She can't hear me, so you're going to have to start saying these words, and then she'll be like,
hey, how about the Dynamite Grand Slam?
All of a sudden, you look over, she's pawing at the door. Get me out of here, please.
She's still way more curious about the dresser. Again, like the dresser has changed in the last hour or something. It's literally the same dresser that's been here for years. So I don't know what she's expecting.
Oh no, our pal Chris saying their cat woke everyone up at 7 because she yacked in the water bowl.
Oh, she does that all the time. The kids like to call every time the cat throws up, which is literally like a daily occurrence because she eats too fast. So every time she throws up, the kids like to call, oh, she left a gift. Like, yeah, thanks. The gift sucks. Hey, you dummy, your gift sucks.
You should ask the
cat on air.
You should ask the cat her feelings on the Montreal screw job.
Cat. Hey, cat. Hey. That click to get her attention. What are your feelings on the Montreal screw job? No opinion.
Oh, true wrestling fan. No opinion on anything. Gotta love it. Flip flopper. One week she'll be all Sean, and next week she'll be all about Brett. Show her the McMahon documentary. You'll see where that goes.
She's seen it enough, honestly. Like, yeah, she's watched it with me plenty of times, and I've watched it more than once. So,
Cat agrees. Brett screwed Brett. My God, your cat's a real jerk. Also, your cat's name on YouTube is Pile Driver Finisher. That's nice to know.
Is it?
Well, according to this, cat agreed. Brett screwed Brett.
That makes sense.
Yeah, there you go.
That makes sense.
Anyway, it would also make sense leaving a thumbs up on the video, subscribing to us here at Fightful Overbooked, and of course, you can donate a super chat. Any amount, get your question or statement read on the air, and it supports us here on the channel, and it also brings out the fireworks, because Jeremy's got that fireworks in him. No dogs.
Baby, you're a firework.
We don't talk about her anymore. She kind of sucks now.
Does she?
Yeah, she does.
Oh, all right. I don't pay attention, clearly.
She's made
the cat wants out. The cat says,
the cat figured it out.
Katy Perry is where the cat draws the line.
I get it. You know what? Your cat just made a huge baby face turn in my books.
There you go.
There you go. It's okay. The cat will come back the very next day.
Okay, we're back.
You promise?
I don't know. Are we really ever here? No, what's going on there?
Listen, if your name is Shane McMahon, you're everywhere. The dude lives in airports.
Boy, he does.
What's going on with
what
this?
What is this?
First of all, why is he now flying commercial when before he was very clearly in a private airfield in Arlington, Texas? What happened this time? Suddenly in New York, he's like, oh, those fees are too expensive. So I'm assuming it's New York. Oh, those are too expensive. So I'm going to fly commercial out of NYC. This was a very interesting photo. That's why I made the thumbnail, because let's face it, Shane McMahon was a little busy on Wednesday night. He couldn't make it to Dynamite Grand Slam because he was too busy getting his papers ready to run for mayor of New York City. And I get it. It's a big job. Someone's got to do it. Shane O'Mac's going to do it. He'll run the city perfectly. But that's why he couldn't make the appearance at Dynamite Grand Slam. There's your breaking news. Instead, he showed up at an airport, and the Young Bucks also were there. And then they flew together. And then they took the photo after they got to where they were going. What the hell is happening?
I'm starting to believe this Shane McMahon to AEW stuff. Really starting to believe it. I'm for it for the chaos. Like, if nothing else, they're doing a good job trolling and making you believe. So good on them. I don't think it makes a ton of sense. I don't think it would be great for the brand overall. As someone who just loves this stuff, I bleeped myself. I prevented myself. Even though we're 6 minutes in, I still bleeped myself. Even though someone who loves this stuff, I think it'd be fantastic and it'd be hilarious. So have you watched the Vince documentary?
I've seen a lot and I've heard a lot. I know that Shane comes off as someone who is always looking for his dad's appreciation and affection in some way. And so I feel like what I just said is going to play into your point.
So the Shane stuff was truthfully the most interesting stuff in the documentary, because it's stuff like we kind of knew about their relationship, but to hear it so pointed from both of them, it was really interesting and in some ways uncomfortable, because it's like, wow, this is kind of unfortunate in some ways, because like, I don't know their personal life or anything, but Shane, certainly on screen, he did everything he could to be the best performer he could. Say what you will about him as a performer. The man went out there and did some really dumb stuff and really tried his heart out on television. And when you learn that it was basically just all to please his dad, it's a little like, man, you really had to go through all of that. You really did all of that just to get a hug from this man. Like, it's just kind of sad, truthfully. And you know, I can't understand that relationship, because my father was very loving and always told me he was proud of me. I try to be the same way as a stepfather. So I don't understand that relationship that well. But it was just a little sad, but certainly very interesting to watch. To tie this into AEW, I don't know if he's gonna come back to WWE. The last time we saw him, he tore his quad and everything. But one thing that definitely stood out about Shane is he wanted to do something different than his dad. You know, he wanted to break away from the business when he could, because he wanted to try something. He wanted the UFC because, one, he thought that would have been a good business move, and he thought they could build it up. And look, he was kind of proven right about that. Maybe WWE would have fumbled the UFC. I don't know. But the UFC, it was kind of a tough product to not be able to sell if you were good at promoting. And Vince has a history of being good at promoting, and you have Shane putting his time and energy into it. I think it would have worked in the same, if not better, than what Dana White has been able to do with it. So Shane has wanted to do something different. Him coming to AEW, being like, yeah, that company, that's still got Vince's fingerprints on it. That's got Stephanie's fingerprints on it. That's got Triple H's fingerprints on it. I can make my own with this company. Again, I don't think it's a good move if I'm AEW and Tony Khan, but I can see where Shane would want to do it.
And we've talked about this before. Shane on camera is not necessarily where his talent lies. Shane has a bit of a business acumen. He has launched other businesses and helped startups in their infancy. And AEW is very much still in its infancy. This is year 5 that's about to start. So there is an opportunity, at least, for Shane to be involved backstage in a role to grow a business, much like he was trying to do if the UFC purchase had happened, much like he was doing with other businesses that he started or was a part of after his WWE departure. It makes sense for him to go to try and be involved with the business side of things, whether or not those views or those opinions will align with what maybe Tony and his brain trust think AEW should be. That's another question. It sounds like, and it looks like, they are having good conversations? When does a business become a toddler is a very important question. When you hit it in the head with a fridge door accidentally on their second birthday. Accidentally.
Make sure you put that clarifier in there, Joel.
Hey, I've never given my son the knife and said, go ahead.
What a story that was, man.
Yeah. So Shane lives in airports. That's really the takeaway here.
See, I don't know if they're just trolling with this kind of stuff, which would be very up the Young Bucks alley. Like, it'd even be up Shane's alley at this point. It's like, yeah, it's something people are talking about, so let's give them something to talk about. I can see that as well. Maybe there's something more to it. Maybe there is. What that is, it shouldn't be on screen. It'd be hilarious if it was on screen. I don't know what he has to offer in a creative role. I really don't, because we haven't seen him do creative things outside of his own creative. And he's pitching himself to beat up Brock Lesnar and stuff. So
hindsight, he may have been the right kind of doing. He may have been the right choice.
Fair.
Maybe Shane was really trying to make a point, and we should have listened, Jeremy. We should have we didn't listen.
I don't know what he has to offer as a business person, because as much as he may have contributed to WWE on that side, we just don't really know what his contributions were, right? There's no hard evidence that, oh, Shane did this for the company. Stephanie, there's at least some evidence of companies she worked for, companies she mingled with, companies she tried to work with as philanthropy. You know, philanthropy is the new, what was her quote? Philanthropy is
how businesses win. And that's not her quote, by the way. That's a quote from a summit that she went to, and she agreed with the person who said it. It's philanthropy is how businesses will win.
Oh, philanthropy is the future of marketing. Oh yeah, that was something she agreed with. Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
I saw a lot of people make that same assumption that she said it, and I was like, she didn't say it. She just retweeted it, and now she believes it. There's a difference between being the person who said it and being the person who believes in it. But anyway, go ahead.
Fair, very fair. So like, we know she did that kind of stuff. She was very face of the company out there at various times throughout her career, where Shane just wasn't. We don't know what he was doing behind the scenes. So I have no idea what he brings to a business aspect to AEW. There's areas that they can certainly improve that maybe Shane can help them in some ways. I don't know what they are.
I'm looking at Shane's Wikipedia, and I know that he worked. So he was WWE Digital. That was his last not backstage, but his last office role with WWE. And that was up until, I believe, 2009. And then he leaves. And at one point he's working with China Broadband. He becomes their CEO, and then is You On Demand. It's a video on demand service in China. And then there was something happened at that point. I remember there was a legal thing that happened, but there have been different name changes. Now they're Ideanomics, and they're headquartered in New York City. I believe he might still be involved. And from there, he's on the board of directors of the International Sports Management. He's still part owner of the Indian Larry Motorcycle Shop in Brooklyn. He's got a lot of ties to New York, if you haven't figured it out, because he's the next mayor of New York City, as we've established. He's had some success in business outside of professional wrestling, and with startups like the ones we just talked about. There's an opportunity there for him to work with them, but it all comes down to what those beliefs are and what works and what doesn't, because wrestling is more than just one view. We see that. We talk about that. It's just very interesting to watch Shane McMahon have these photos with these AEW wrestlers exclusively. And you know what? The real problem here is that Bully Ray hasn't given us an official statement from Shane. Where's Bully? Why isn't Bully telling us what's happening? Instead, Shane's talking.
At some point, Shane will get the market value. 1 second.
By all means. Is the cat back? We're going to talk about the Lucha Bros situation in a few minutes. I think we'll have a little bit of a chat. Jeremy has been summoned away apparently, so I guess maybe he'll come back at one point. I hope everything's okay. Regardless, the Shane stuff it's funny to me as much as it is interesting to me. It's unexpected, but in some ways, as we've talked about it, it's not completely unexpected because of what you may have seen in the documentary and just the way that Shane has been wanting to be involved with wrestling, but is at arm's length at wrestling right now. It's been good. It's been good to see whatever's happening here. Would it be a big change for AEW? Who knows? At the end of the day, Tony Khan is the one making those final decisions. So what does that look like if you got Shane involved as well? Someone asking, how's my morning? My morning so far is good. I've been up since 6 a.m. I went to bed last night at midnight, did the TNA post show. TNA was an interesting time. We're going to talk about that a little bit as well. Today's show, I think, mostly because Joe Hendry versus Nick Nemeth is the main event at Bound for Glory, and I have feelings. Because that's what I'm supposed to do here. I'm supposed to have feelings on this show. I hope you have feelings too. Good feelings even. How's your morning so far, chat? What are you up to this morning? Are you having fun? Are you just sitting around? Are you in bed right now? Are you enjoying it? Are you not enjoying it? Are you at work? What are you up to? What's Jeremy up to? Where has he been? He ran away from the show. You ran from the grind, Jeremy. Are you okay?
Well, there's pull the curtain back a little bit. 15 of the kids are home today. And so they needed help. Yeah, they needed help with stuff. And so I'm here to help, you know. Gotta help the children when they need the help. Yeah.
The cat got in the vent. Anyway, we just kind of wrapped a bow on the Shane McMahon talk, just saying that it's very interesting watching how this is playing out, knowing the emotional relationship that he has with his family or lack thereof, and how he's left WWE. But now if he's working with AEW, Tony Khan does get the final say. But if he's directly involved with any of the business side of things there, how does that look? And maybe he's going to have a lot of fun, or maybe he's not, and it'll just be a relationship that doesn't work out. Who knows?
Well, there's a war, and who would you want? You know who was part of the Monday Night Wars? You know who won? You know who purchased WCW in the war?
It's true. Shane McMahon. The name on the contract says McMahon.
That's who you want in a war. You want Shane McMahon.
Do you remember the two locations where that simulcast was happening?
Cleveland and Florida.
That's right. Panama City Beach, Florida, and Cleveland, of course, because you're living in Ohio.
Yeah.
Someone's saying Shane McMahon should be an on-screen talent only. I cannot tell you how much I disagree with that statement. I would never want to see Shane on my TV if I can't help it. And I know I'm the one talking about it.
I agree with it because, look, if you're going to go just chaos, you don't get more chaos than old Shane O'Mac.
Telling you, they had their opportunity in a New York ring, like in New York City, in an AEW ring, a McMahon stands to end the show. That would have been something. The world would have exploded. The wrestling world would be talking about it. The real best in the world would be at it.
Just comes out doing his little dance, throwing those punches, baby.
Mikey Ruckus is working on the song as we speak. Mikey Ruckus is just there. He's just doing he's doing the thing along with the music. And he's just yelling into the best in the world. He's just making his best. It's not even a hip hop beat. He's just taking a full on hard rock beat. Mikey Ruckus. That's what I want.
It can't be a rock beat. Get that.
Yeah, but that's Ruckus is in his shit. That's the best part. No, he's good. He's actually very versatile.
They should hand Collision to Shane. That would be the rule.
They should announce the TV deal, and then say Tony Khan is going to be in charge of AEW Dynamite, but who's going to be in charge of Collision? Out come the Bucks, and the Bucks are just like, we will be in charge of Collision, and then everyone.
Oh, Joel.
What?
Here it is. The Bucks come out, right? And they do the coin gimmick. And then the coin flips, and when it drops, though, it's the ching ching. Ching ching.
Oh God, it's just like, you bitch. I love it.
That's how you introduce them.
Oh, that's perfect. Honk and Amazing saying Shane should come into AEW with an NXT style name. He should be, don't even call him Shane McMahon. Call him literally anything else. Call him like, I don't know. I said it like Shane O'Buck. What do you call him?
Would be
Shane
good,
O'Buck.
honestly.
He's the Young Bucks uncle, and he's Shane O'Buck.
Can you just be Shane Jackson? What's the it's not Matt and Nick, it's Matthew and Nicholas. Is there like a long form of Shane?
Shanathan.
Shanathan. I don't know if that quite works.
It does now.
There's never a long form of Shane, so I don't know if they can do this. Shanethew.
Shanemy. See, it doesn't work. Shanathan works.
Shanen. I do Shanen.
Shanington. That's if he's British. Comes out with beans on toast. He goes, him. Oh man, Shanifer.
Shangrel.
Oh, Sean. It's just Sean.
Sean Jackson.
Sean Jackson.
Yeah.
Oh man. Low down, dirty Shane. Oh man. Shayna McKenzie. Anyway, sorry. I'm done. He should be a Mercedes' manager.
Would that get her on television?
She was on. She was there. She came out.
I know she was there, but she wasn't on TV.
Did you know that she did? Did you know that she did media on
Wednesday?
A
lot of media.
Yeah. Did you know she did a little bit of media going into Grand Slam? AWPR wouldn't have told you enough, other than every minute when they were retweeting what she was doing.
They should do that stuff.
I'm being facetious. I was like, wow, she got out there.
I'm not gonna knock them on that. What I will say is I do think the people who do media should probably be on your television show that day, because who knows? She may have done media and people are like, oh, this Mercedes Moné person's interesting. I'm going to go to this show. And then they don't see Mercedes Moné. And it's like, oh, wow, why'd I come to this show? Like, what was the point? Now, hopefully they enjoyed other stuff that was on it, but I'm always of the belief, or I was mad when Bayley did all that media. It was like New Orleans and then Vince cut her match. I was like, wow, she just did all this media. For all we know, one person could have come to that show to see Bayley, and you've left that person disappointed just because we didn't see Bayley. So for all we know, people could have come to that show just to see Mercedes Moné. They found her interesting with all this media, and they didn't see her. Now you've disappointed those people. And who knows how many it might be, but even if it's one person, Swerve Strickland did some media as well. He was on Breakfast Club, but the interview just came out today. It said a lot of stuff. Said some good stuff. Swerve's always a very good interview. Maybe it aired live, but they just posted on the show today. So
I don't know. I think they recorded it. I think the Mercedes one was also recorded.
Yeah. So this didn't have like too much of an effect of him being on the show, and why'd Swerve do media and didn't show out to it. But he said on the show you can't be like 100% better every single day. It's nearly impossible. Like everybody can't give 100% every single day. And he said, what I've learned is if you're just 1% better, leave a thumbs up.
That's
subliminal marketing. If you're just 1% better every day, then after a year, you're 365% better. You've grown over three times in a year if you're just 1% better every single day. And he's talking about like, maybe that means you make one new fan, you sell one more t-shirt, whatever it might be. It all adds up over a year. I thought it was just interesting, a way to look at life and things and goals. And that goes to my point of if you're Mercedes Moné and you're doing this media, you could have gained one fan, but maybe you lost one fan because she wasn't on the show and the people went to that show to see her. Maybe being live was and her coming out and doing the CEO dance with Tony Khan was enough for them. At least they brought her out for that, for the live crowd who maybe went to the show to see her. But if you were watching the show because you saw all the media, you didn't see her at all.
You have to assume that the people who are in the venue, I'd say like at least 85% watch AEW regularly and kind of knew what was going on, who was and who wasn't on the show based on that. So for Mercedes not to be on the show, it's okay in terms of like, I don't think many people bought a ticket to see her knowing that she wasn't promoted at all to be on the show. Like, obviously leading up to the show, people were expecting it because we talk about the poster and all that stuff. But I think the closer you got to it, people were understanding that she's not on the show, but bringing her out was probably the next best thing you could do for the live crowd. But she hasn't been on the show for the last few weeks. So it was kind of like, if you're not going to see her there, then you're probably not going to see her in New York. And if she does, like, it's going to be the start of something random, or not random, but something that builds to Wrestle Dream. I guess that's going to start this Wednesday instead. Because spoiler alert, she's not on Collision, or if she is, she'll have a backstage segment that hasn't been announced yet that either does get announced or it just happens to air. And here we are, and we move forward for the next few weeks. AEW is in a really weird spot as well, because again, they're going to Wrestle Dream, but every week since All Out has been some sort of special or a quick build to a special, because you had All In, then you had All Out 2 weeks later. Then you had 2 weeks until Grand Slam. Next week is 5th anniversary. The week after that is Title Tuesday. And then the week after that is Wrestle Dream. So there's just a lot going on. And you're hoping that, the things that they kind of tack on for this week are going to push them forward to Wrestle Dream. We already have the first match announced, right? We're going to do Moxley versus Danielson for the title. That's good. That was expected to be announced immediately after the match ended between Mox and Darby. So I'm glad that they're doing that. But now the hope is they start really ramping up whatever the stories are for the other matches they're going to do. For example, if they're going to do Willow versus Mariah May, do you do that at Title Tuesday, or do you do that at Wrestle Dream, and then the Mina story goes a little bit later to maybe Full Gear, right? Because Mina Shirakawa has now come back. She was involved, and we're going to get into the Dynamite, or to Grand Slam and Dynamite. But that's just my point, is that there are a lot of important shows, and I use the quotation mark because they tacked some sort of special name to these shows that almost take away from the pay-per-view build, because you're looking forward just to that Dynamite and what special matches are being announced there. So yeah, it's a weird time in AEW.
Is it?
It is. And it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad weird time. It's just they have a lot of like specials. It's not like, it's not like there are regular Dynamites as much as there are some sort of specialty branded ones, right? 5th anniversary, you want something big on that show.
I was stunned they didn't announce anything extra for 5th anniversary. Stunned. Because this is one of your biggest audiences of the year. It's a special show, right? Grand Slam's a special show, no matter what. Maybe it's not going to be the biggest audience of the year, but they've always marketed Grand Slam as one of the bigger dynamites of the year. And all they did was confirm Britt Baker and Serena Deeb, which we already knew Britt Baker was competing. We saw Serena Deeb issue the challenge on Collision, so that was kind of a foregone conclusion type of thing. And then you have Ospreay and Ricochet. I can't believe they didn't announce anything else a week out from this show. They used to be so good at that. And so I say this because I'm on the fence about going to 5th anniversary. And this isn't me of like, if I could go, I probably would. This is a thing of like, I got a bunch of kids. We got to figure out plans for what we're going to do with the kids. And Ospreay and Ricochet is a cool match. I'm fans of both guys, but I'm not like, maybe this is telling of me as a wrestling fan. This is not a match that I'm like, yeah, let's try to rearrange our entire schedule to go see. Sorry if that offends people. It's just not. I want to know what Bryan Danielson's doing to be truthful. That's what I want to know. And if you're not telling me what Bryan Danielson's doing until like 2 days before, I might not be able to figure this out in 2 days and make arrangements in 2 days to go to this show. So I feel like they need to really tell people, especially on a show, if you don't want to do it for some of these other shows, if you're not announcing stuff until a little bit later, fine. 5th anniversary, big show, I would have had a lot of stuff to promote of like, hey, this is what you're going to see. We're going to celebrate 5 years. You're going to see Ospreay and Ricochet. You're going to see Britt Baker's return against Serena Deeb. You're going to see Mercedes Moné. You're going to see Jon Moxley again and Claudio Castagnoli against Bryan Danielson and Darby Allin. This is all the stuff that you're going to see. And then announce as much as you can for these, especially these big shows.
I was thinking about a main event. Well, not a main event, because main event's Ricochet and Ospreay. Has to be. Unless it opens the show, it's got to be the closer. I could see a tag match of some sorts, doing Mox and Claudio against Darby and Danielson. But again, I don't know how active Danielson can be or will be heading into Wrestle Dream, because we don't know really how injured he is. He did go out and have a great match with Nigel McGuinness, the first 10 minutes of which was less impactful, physically speaking. So again, like what's his status? Is he wrestling around an injury, or is he wrestling with an injury? If you know what I'm trying to say here, how is it impacting how physical he can get? But a tag match is a good way of kind of getting around that as well, and still having your big star, your champion on the show in a tag match, which has some sort of stakes because of the people involved and the stories involved. You could do something like that. They could announce it as early as this Saturday on Collision. We don't know, because while things are taped, this is where my TNA brain comes in. They always do, the matches are in front of the crowds, but the backstage stuff tends to either inform the matches or allow for the stakes to be added after the fact in post-production, or set up whatever's coming up down the road. Collision has kind of the same benefit, where not everything happens in front of the crowd. So some of the stuff gets announced afterwards, or they can key in, this match is happening, which they do frequently. That's AEW kind of puts those out there. So yeah, 5th anniversary could have more matches announced. Right now there are 2. And I think the hope is that that's going to get enough people in the door. The Ospreay Ricochet match is clearly what they really want to push home as a big match. And in a lot of circles it is. Looking at WrestleTix, yesterday they said there's about 3,600 tickets distributed. Setup is for 4,155. So they're pretty much on par with how they've been doing lately in those areas. But it could be better. It could always be better. And I hope that it does get better. So,
and they didn't have any video for Ospreay Ricochet on Dynamite, which we talked about of how are they going to do that when Ospreay is challenging for the title? Like, are they going to be able to promote that like they should when Ospreay is doing this tag team match with Fletcher against the Young Bucks? And it turns out, well, they just decided they weren't going to really promote it. That was a choice. I hope we get something on Collision. And if they don't, then that's another choice. But I assume something will be on Collision. They'll do some type of video package. It's going to be a lesser audience than Dynamite. It always is. So that's an unfortunate part. But you got to get a little bit something more, because to not really have anything this past week on Dynamite outside of Ospreay, he lost. He was part of the losing team. I realize he didn't get pinned, but he was part of the losing team. And not have Ricochet on the show at all. You're basically trusting the build of Sicko match. And that's it.
So this is kind of building into what I was saying before, where you have all of these bigger shows that you're trying to put together in quick succession, whereas the rest of the year, Dynamites are not like this. You're not having multiple Dynamites with special terms attached to it, like Grand Slam or 5th anniversary or Title Tuesday. And all of these are coming out of pay-per-views, leading into pay-per-views. And whenever they present something like Grand Slam is presented almost pay-per-view-esque. There was 2 video packages and an on the ramp interview that was promoted, the Nana segment. We'll talk about that in a sec. But they mostly stuck to the matches that they had, because they presented it more as a wrestling-based big show instead of a story-driven show. And that's what I'm wondering, how things like 5th anniversary and Title Tuesday are going to be affected, especially because, as I keep hitting this home, Title Tuesday is the lead-in to Wrestle Dream. So what, like, how do you put it in there? How do you make it work?
How big of a show is Title Tuesday going to be? I'm not saying they're going to punt on this show, but they're going to be facing the NXT show. The NXT show's got Orton. We know we're getting a Randy Orton match. I feel like we're going to get a lot more of the WWE guys on that. You know, WWE.
Easily.
What was that?
I said easily.
Oh, thought something was like playing in the background.
No, I mean, my wife's on the phone because we work in our place together. But yes.
Okay. You know WWE's going to load up that show. So how is AEW going to counter? What's going to be the counter with Title Tuesday? Are they going to put Danielson in a match for the world title? Like, are they going to have him defend it before he faces Moxley?
I want you to have the Darby match anyway. So the Darby match is Title Tuesday. No, it's a good point. And again, that's why I'm saying how many tag matches can you have? How many match implications? Like how does it work? Do they do, let's say they do Mox and Cesaro versus, Claudio Castagnoli. I don't know why I call him Cesaro. Mox and Claudio versus Danielson and Darby. Let's say they do that. You do it at Title Tuesday. You add the stake that if Darby and Danielson win, then Darby gets a title shot back. Do I love the idea? No. Does it add stakes to a match? It does. And Mox still wins. And they just continue on with the stupid Wrestle Dream match.
Listen, you don't want to beat Darby. This idea is awful.
Keep beating Darby because it shows every time that he can get beat. That's the trash. I don't think this is a trash.
No, this is a terrible idea, Joel. What do you mean?
I just think you're looking to use the bits.
No, this is an awful idea. You're doing a tag team match where Darby gets his title shot back, and then either
I didn't say he gets it back.
Okay, well, let me finish. You've either negated your Grand Slam match because Darby does get it back, or you're beating Darby again, or you're beating Danielson before the show. That's either way, it's terrible.
Mox beats Danielson and then beats him again.
No.
Why not make Mox look? Why not make him look better?
What do you? It's Jon Moxley. You don't need to make him look better.
Darby's booking has been weird. Darby's going to want to put everyone over anyway. He doesn't need to win a title anytime soon. Who needs that? You can write it down all you want, but if it happens,
it's not going to happen.
You don't know that. You're not back there.
I do know that.
You're not back there middling everybody on the show.
I don't talk to anybody.
See, you don't. Yeah, exactly. You don't talk to anybody. You have no connections to AEW. We hate each other, you and I already. And if you hate me, then God, something's wrong. Everyone loves me. I love me. Sometimes I love myself too much, and it hurts the next day.
Should use some.
Nope, don't say it. I don't have that much. I can't put 10,000 bottles up here. I've got enough stuff on this shelf that I just put in. It's a nice shelf. Are you still writing?
Well, I had to be very clear of what I was writing, okay?
Did you write a novel? Like, what are we doing here?
Darby, Danielson, Moxley, Claudio before Wrestle Dream with Dumb Stip. That's what it says.
Did you write Claudia?
I said Claudio. Don't.
I know. Your looks
SpongeBob
like
Shaw.
SpongeBob Shaw.
Trash.
All right, you're welcome.
Idea is absolute trash.
And when it happens, you will be so upset.
It's not going to happen.
That's right. Well, listen.
I will promise you this, everybody. That tag team match with that stipulation will not happen at Title Tuesday. Take that shit to the bank.
I'm going to call TK and get it to happen just to win the bet. I will be as petty.
What are we betting? You want to actually bet on this?
Absolutely not. Ali Khan sent to Super Chat saying, what do you guys think about MVP and AEW? So let's get to that. MVP has made his debut in AEW to the surprise of nobody, but he did it during Prince Nana's update on Swerve. And MVP essentially came out and said, LOL, you suck. You are not good at your job. And Nana's like, I think I'm pretty good. And he's like, I'll take my card. Maybe your business associate will join me instead. That's a pretty interesting way to start this whole thing. My first thought, bring back the VIP lounge. Not the talk show I'm talking the podcast.
Oh, he is.
He's talked about it, but I want the announcement. I want the announcement. When's the first episode? Who's co-hosting? Do you remember who used to co-host the VIP lounge with him?
Court Bauer?
It was Alex Greenfield, who was Court's right-hand man.
Yeah, well, I thought it was like somebody in that field.
Yeah, it was Greeny. And Greeny was there because he and MVP worked together at WWE, and he did a lot of the writing, did Greeny for MVP stuff. They have a great relationship, and I really love their report. Go watch or listen to old episodes of VIP Lounge if you can find it. But my point is, I don't care what MVP does in any wrestling ring. I care about what he says on the microphone on that podcast. Announce the damn podcast expeditiously.
You know, I was a little disappointed with this segment. Yeah, I was a little disappointed.
No, I'm serious. I'm dead serious. The MVP of the NBA. Yeah, I'm not making this up. For AEW Rampage, ladies and gentlemen, the Greek Freak, Giannis Antetokounmpo.
He's so excited.
That's the MVP that I wanted. That was the MVP that I wanted.
By the way, next week is just going to be filled with this.
Happy anniversary!
It's so loud and screechy. Anyway, continue your point.
That was a good segment. It was a really good segment.
I thought you didn't like it.
Yeah.
I was told you didn't like it. You went out of your way to prove it with that video.
No, MVP's good. MVP's really good. And then, we'll see what happens with the Hurt Syndicate, and if they end up joining. I imagine they will.
A lot of people pointing to Will Hobbs as a potential man to join that team. I like the idea. Gives Hobbs something to do. He certainly hasn't, he's been a man without a country since his injury. If he comes back and that's where he winds up, I wouldn't hate it. I just don't know who else fits into Hurt Syndicate who would be as impactful.
I do think you need someone on the AEW roster who fits here. I do think, because you're getting Shelton, Lashley, and MVP. All these guys are over 48. And they're all ex-WWE guys. Now, they left money on the table with the Hurt Business in WWE. They left money on the table with them. So I think there's definitely a place for them in AEW. It goes to, okay, well, who's going to be off of television? People have their thoughts and opinions on that. That doesn't mean it's going to happen. But these are older guys. I don't know if MVP can go in the ring, but as a manager, he's great. He's fantastic. Shelton has done well in the independents. Lashley, from what we've seen in limited this year, he's still good. And I think AEW, he'll be fine. They're working with Swerve off the bat. Swerve doesn't miss. He hasn't missed all year. But who from the AEW roster that's younger can you put in this group to elevate them? Because if it's just 3 ex-WWE guys coming in and they're not going to take someone under their wing, I think that's a missed opportunity.
Hear me out. Trent Beretta. Listen, I get it. I get it. A lot of people are going to put, black talent with the Hurt Syndicate. I know that the Grapsody guys are going to talk about that on Saturday. They are, and I'm sure they'll give their ideas of who should or shouldn't be. I'm here to put another name out there. We're going to think differently here. Trent Beretta.
Well, you know what? I like that you're going somewhere else with this. I respect
Syndicate? The Hook Syndicate?
Oh, the Hook Syndicate. That's not bad.
Come on. Tell me I'm wrong. Put that in your garbage can.
No. I like that. This is actually a fine idea.
I like conglomeration.
I like a little outside the box on this.
There you go. Like y'all are doing it in the chat. I get it, but it's the Hook Syndicate.
It should be Scorpio Sky, but everybody's bald. So that's what they're doing. They're selling their hair products. That's the business that they're in. They're all selling the hair products.
They're the hair syndicate. It's Bobby with his tatted on eyebrows. I grow real ones now, thanks to the hair syndicate. Oh, but it's good. It's good to see MVP. It'll be better when he announces the podcast. And Bobby Lashley is like, I got a bus so I could tour the world and all the high school campuses and see the up and coming kids. And I'm like, no, you got a bus because AEW offered it in the contract, and you're just going to go from town to town and do this thing. Two things can be right, by the way, and it's not a bad thing. Two things can be true. Just 5 guys to just 4 men. Oh, listen, if you know me, I don't care about just 5 guys. My business has been clear this whole time. Just 5 Jews. Led by Maxwell Jacob Friedman. That's Forbidden Door next year. So Swerve, and is it Swerve and Lashley first, or is it Swerve and Shelton first?
I think it's Swerve and Lashley at Wrestle Dream. That's
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah, so unless you're doing Swerve and Shelton before that at some point, I don't know.
Swerve's eventually going to need friends. Who is going to be a part of Swerve's team?
Does he need friends?
I mean, if he's going up people, if he's going up,
He's got the Gates of Agony, right?
No, I'm pretty sure they turned on him.
Oh, right.
I'm pretty sure Brian Cage did too.
The Outrunners.
The conglomeration.
It should
Swerve.
be the Outrunners. That would rule.
That would be very funny. Someone saying EJ Nduka and Lee Johnson. Sure,
Yeah, he's part of the entourage with
Yeah,
them.
he did.
Yeah.
You can have, and that's a good spotlight for both men, for Lee and EJ. Yeah, Johnny Lee Johnson. That's a person I haven't seen in a while.
He's been on ROH, I believe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, I know Lee Moriarty is the pure champion.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Well, he defended it last night on the show, according
okay.
to Kate and SP3.
Okay.
I do the other Thursday show, so that works for me. They're a tag team in ROH, are Nduka and Lee Johnson. Okay, good to see them somewhere doing something.
Are they? I don't think Lee Johnson and
That's what I'm saying. ROH tagging with EJ and Nduka now. Maybe they did like one match together. Maybe that's what's gone on, and people are like, "Oh, it's happening."
I'm on Lee Johnson's cage match, and he's literally never teamed.
Oh no! Are we sure? Is this what's happening? I don't see him at all. Oh no! Maybe it's not a tag. Maybe he's seconding.
Okay.
Maybe he's seconding.
They're not teaming. I mean, Lee Johnson hasn't wrestled in like a month, so
They've been doing it for 2 weeks now.
oh, they're just chilling. They're not teaming yet. No, they're just a couple. Oh, good for them.
Oh, good for them. Love is love.
Yeah.
We support that.
Yeah.
Good for you, EJ. Good for you, Lee. Could have sworn that Lee Johnson was engaged to what's her face to the Spooky Girl. Come on,
Yeah, Julia Hart. Yeah.
Julia Hart. Thank you. Sorry, I was like,
Aren't they married? Didn't they get married?
they might be married.
They
They might be married. Yeah. She did a whole interview on. She's done multiple interviews, but I think Unrestricted they talked about it. This was a while ago, and of course, Julia Hart's been injured for the last little bit. People are saying they're married. Good for them. Good for them. Glad they're married. Polly, all love is love. EJ joining that couple is a hilarious throuple. Oh, now I'm thinking about that, and I just have no idea. Can you reach the dishes on the high shelf? You got it. Anyway, sorry, I'm good. Oh, should we keep talking about Grand Slam, or is there anything you want to add about the MVP stuff? Because I thought the promo was good. It's good to see him. The only here, you want my nitpick, Jeremy Lambert? This is my fashion nitpick.
Okay.
The jacket pocket on a blazer is not for you to store things. MVP reached into his jacket blazer to pull out his business card. Your business card should be in one of 3 places: your back pocket on your pants, the front pocket on your pants if you have something like a folio in which you carry the cards, or the inside breast pocket on your jacket. Never on the pockets in the front. MVP,
Why?
I expected better.
Why?
It's bad. You don't want a big bulgy thing coming out. Don't put your cards in there. Also, you don't want to. It looks dumb when you dig in there. It's not the 80s. You're not David Byrne.
It was one card.
Maybe he had multiple cards. You don't know.
He had one because he knew he was about to present it to
You
Prince
need
Nana.
multiple cards. No, you don't carry just one. Maybe he had one for TK. Maybe he had one for you. Maybe he had one.
Maybe
for
those were in his other pockets. He knew he needed one card to present Nana, so he put it right there. He's like, I know where this one is, and here you go.
No, he had multiple cards.
Mm.
He had multiple cards. I will not chill. This is very important, and I need people to know that fashion deserves. I can't even keep this bit going.
People are gonna think you're like really mad about this.
Really
where the card placement was.
I can tell you every time I wear a suit, it's on the inside blazer. That's where you keep the cards. Or if you have a thing to hold them in, you put them in there, like one of these. This is a Q-tip, like a travel size Q-tip thing, but something like the size of this. Not as thick. It's pretty thick though.
Yeah.
Do that.
Yeah.
He looked fine. I wouldn't say fly. I'm not a big fan of wearing tan suits, but that's just me. That's just because I can't look good in a tan suit.
Fashion expert Joel Pearl over here.
Listen, I have an eye. He looked fine. I just know that I wouldn't look good in it. That's
You
all.
only have one eye? You should figure that out.
I don't need to figure it out. I just have one eye. If there's one thing I know about, AEW is all about eye patches. Everyone wearing eye patches. Anyway, see, I would be perfect. Perfect for this. The Joel wears Prada. I do not wear Prada. My name is not Andrew Zarian. I wish. Nigel had a full-on match with Bryan Danielson.
As expected.
As expected.
Were you mad?
Oh, no, I don't get mad over these things. I was livid. No,
Joel's like, why didn't Bryan Danielson beat him in 30 seconds?
No, I'm not JP from New York, okay? That's not me. I don't play that game. Listen, the match was really fun. Like we said earlier with Danielson, the match itself was like the first 10 minutes were mostly grappling and just feel out, which for a lot of people, they were into that, and that's fine. It wasn't a high-flying, high-stakes match. It was Nigel and Danielson just doing their thing, doing the chain wrestling, doing the moves, and it looked good. Nigel looked good. Danielson looked good. They did the tease. Danielson came out to Final Countdown. People liked that. Again, you had to do the match. You had to do the match once it was offered. I do wish that they had done the Danielson beating Nigel, making him look like an idiot, but I understand they don't want to present their stories that way. So the match was good. Danielson moves on. I will say this. I absolutely love that they got it out of the way immediately. I think I mentioned this on Twitter, so that Danielson can refocus his efforts on the guy who tried to murder him, the guy who has the title shot, and then the guy who has to have a match with the guy who tried to murder him. And also currently had the title shot going against the guy who tried to murder him. I like that finally was like, we got to refocus after this match. This match was fun, and then the rest goes through. You got a look on your face.
Yeah, sorry. I got a message about something. I apologize.
Tell them you're busy.
Yeah, I know.
And then smack them. Just reach through the screen. But either way, the match was good. They had exactly what they wanted. Nigel taps out, says thank you or F you, depending on who you believe and what your censor bar said. The commentary, like,
the commentary said thank you. I read it as F you, but
I think it was thank you. I think that if it's and if commentary is saying thank you and they play it up as thank you, maybe Nigel comes out, and I don't say he does a babyface turn, but maybe he says you lit something back up in me I didn't know I had. You did the thing. You came, blah, 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 respect. And that's that. Sounds like he said thank you.
I read it as F you, but...
Were you watching on Triller or were you watching on TBS?
No, I was watching on TBS.
So I was watching on Triller because I watched it on Triller, and it wasn't black. It wasn't blanked, and it sounded like thank you.
Okay.
And Simeon's here saying the same thing.
Okay.
Someone's saying that you should go to 5th anniversary because someone in Australia can't go. Maybe you should go to Grand Slam so that we don't go because you're closer to Grand Slam than we will be. So you go. Damn it.
Yeah. The Danielson and Nigel match was very good, as expected. It was good, and it was basically what I thought it would be. They weren't going to have the Glory Days ROH intense match that they had because both men are in the current state that they are in. I thought it ruled that Danielson was like, "No, don't play this theme. You better play the Final Countdown, or I ain't going out there." That was a good bit by old Brian. I did wonder, because we talked about the pacing of the match, the placement, not the pacing. Sorry, the placement of the match of where would you go with Danielson because he has to go after Moxley, but they did this match first and then he went after Moxley later, which made some sense. Could he have attacked Moxley before the match? Be like, no, Darby's owed this title shot. They didn't. That's fine. The war stuff. I do want to talk a little bit about the war stuff. This has got to be, I said it with the Elite stuff. This has got to be an overarching storyline. I thought Darby did a very good job of that, as much as they've diminished Evil Uno and he's whatever, but at least Darby did a very good job of that on Saturday with like, you better wrestle like someone's out here to take your lunch money, because that's how they're going to wrestle. That's how they're acting. This is what we need. Private Party, Commander getting involved in this. A little concerned that that's the guys that you need to wrestle a gritty, kind of tough style. They've never shown they can really do that. I don't need Commander doing all his acrobats and stuff when these guys are here to punch you in the face. Like, we need guys who are really going to go out there and, grit your teeth, for lack of a better term.
No, they're on Saturdays.
Yes, I know. But like, that's the people, that's what people need to show. And that's something that needs to go throughout the entire show. And people need to make that very clear. Danielson needs to make that very clear. Danielson needs to have guys on his side who are going to do that. If Private Party can do that and Commander can do that, cool. If they can't, cut them loose. He'd be like, you guys you ain't the guys I need for this kind of fight. I need guys like Darby Allin. Fuck, I need guys like Evil Uno. He can do this. I need guys like Swerve Strickland. I need guys who are willing to get out there and get dirty in this war. So I hope that becomes a thing throughout the entire company.
Commander is going to don a new mask. It's going to be all black. But I do like the idea of having Danielson essentially say, this is real. We need to fight, and you need to be ready to fight. No more pussyfooting. Maybe Mox was right. Maybe Private Party is supposed to be where they're supposed to be. And I'm talking this as a storyline thing, where he really talks to Private Party and Commander and says, you've been in the same place. It's time to get, shit or get off the pot, is what they say. And this lights a fire under those three men, or at least two of them. Commander fitting into this is a very strange thing, right? It's like, you don't think of him as part of this war because he's not day one. He's not, like, he just kind of like, he got sideloaded, which is not bad. But in the story, like, Private Party got beat up by Moxley and his guys. So did Commander, but like, Private Party are OGs. And they brought that up in story. Like, they've made it a big part of it is Moxley saying, you've sucked for so long, you don't deserve to be here. So for them to now give that opportunity to do that and build them up, that's good. I like King Patate, by the way, saying, feels like potentially Commander took Daniel Garcia's spot in this. That would make sense to me.
They couldn't get someone a little bit more built for that spot than Commander. Like,
it's a very good point. I don't know who you could get. I know that we talk about the mid card being what it is, but like, the conglomeration are all in one spot right now. So you couldn't exactly grab Orange Cassidy, Kyle O'Reilly.
You should get all of them, honestly.
You should. In the grand scheme of things, yes. But I'm saying, if there's another trio that you're trying to put together, maybe the story is actually not about Commander as much as it is about Yuta. Maybe it is Bryan Danielson being like, you are not a casualty of war. You have the potential to rise up and show your true colors as a good person. Maybe that's what the story is. And then Commander is just there because Commander is really good at the wrestling, which shouldn't be enough. But and that's why I'm kind of saying like, your point absolutely stands. But if you do a private party and private party becomes bigger out of this, then it's worth it. Then the story is worth it. But it's how you
I don't think Private Party and Commander are the guys they're gonna really look to elevate out of this. Maybe they are.
I think Private Party is a team that they want to elevate out of this. They've been
Okay.
wanting to do something with them.
You know who would be great for this war here to side with Bryan Danielson? One, if you can get Daniel Garcia to re-sign, he'd be perfect, obviously. I would like to see Hook in this. I think he'd be great in this because I'm very, very worried now that Hook is no longer has the FTW title because he retired it. That's been all he's done for like 2 years now is FTW title stuff. I'm very worried that they just don't have a direction for him now that title is just gone. I feel like, I hope I'm wrong, Hook conglomeration is going to be a thing. It's like, they've kind of aligned with him before. Let's just put him with the conglomeration. Orange Cassidy literally said, we were put together because we were just kind of lost in the shuffle in the mid card. Those are Orange Cassidy's words, not mine. I don't want Hook to just be put in there. I think he'd be great on Team Danielson. I think he could learn a lot, and I think he would fit right in. The conglomeration is a good group for that. Kyle O'Reilly, Mark Briscoe, Orange Cassidy, all these guys have shown they can do gritty stuff and are ready to go to war. And they make sense, too. That's who should be coming out of this and doing something once we get past Saturday.
Yeah, but then it's going to just be FTR. FTR and Bryan Danielson. We love this company, man. What if it's House of Black? House of Black and Bryan Danielson? Danielson dresses up in black metal nonsense? No? Okay. Let's go back to Hook for a sec. Hook wins his match against Roddy Strong, gets the respect of Roddy Strong. That was a point that was made. Shakes his hand. Code of honor is ensured. And Mr. ROH leaves with the Undisputed Kingdom. And then Hook grabs his title and goes to Tony Schiavone and says, giving it back to my dad. And I know Sean kind of played it off on Discord as they're retiring the FTW title. Part of me was like, maybe it's not just the title that's going. Hook at one point did mention that he's interested in testing out free agency. This was an SE Scoops thing that came out in April. I know not much.
I don't know if Hook mentioned that. Let's not
Hook
say
didn't mention that. You're right. Thank you. You're right. There have been people in Hook's camp who have mentioned the possibility of Hook testing free agency. There has been no official update on his contract status with AEW. There's part of me that wondered, like, maybe this was not just the FTW title's goodbye. Maybe this was the start of Hook's goodbye. And then everyone else was thanking Taz for the FTW title. I'm like, oh shit, I hope Taz isn't leaving, because they were absolutely heavy-handed on socials thanking Taz. But if Hook is potentially out of here, then that could have been the way that they say goodbye. But they definitely got rid of the FTW title. And I'm not complaining about that.
It's fine that the FTW title is gone because it was just a title that they had. They tried to make it important for some stuff, but it always just felt like, okay, we just have this title. And when they got all these other titles, did you really need it? But I'm going to again express my concern of, if Hook is sticking around, where are you going to put him? Because he's been so tied to this title. Now you got to actually have a plan for him that isn't, hey, we're going to feud over the FTW title. And I worry that maybe they don't have a plan. I hope they do. I hope they've got something figured out for him that, and I talked about it on, I guess it was Wednesday's show, of too often guys just go sideways and they don't go up. Hook's a guy who should be going up. Remember the Samoa Joe match? That was a big deal, and he did very well in that match, and he came out of that looking strong. And then he just went back to FTW title stuff. The Jericho feud didn't fully serve him, but he won the feud. And now we beat Roderick Strong. Good win. It should go up. And I hope they have. That's why I think the Danielson stuff would be. That's where I'm concerned with the Danielson stuff. He needs guys like Hook. People have mentioned Samoa Joe, Daniel Garcia. If Yuta, I assume Yuta will end up siding with Brian. Yuta, you need guys that get elevated out of this. Guys who you definitely have plans for. I don't know if they have plans for Private Party and Commander. They've been on the roster for a long time and haven't really done anything with them. Maybe they do have plans that they want to elevate them, but then I question their overall long-term planning of like, wait a second, you've got guys who you've actually put a lot of stock and a lot of investment in. These are the guys that should be in this spot, not guys you've treated like jokes for the better part of 3 to 4 years now.
How much more impactful do you think, going back to the FTW title, because I'm just thinking about it now, how much more impactful do you think it would have been if Hook had won that title back and they did what they did on Wednesday when he beat Jericho? I think it would have been better. I think it would have been better.
If he retired it at All In?
At All In. After he beats Jericho and just he's finally done with it. Problem is then they go and they did the match where TK was like, trust me, bro. It didn't go over so well.
Yeah.
But let's say that didn't happen. Let's just take that out of context, whatever. If Hook had won the FTW title back at All In and then said, I'm retiring this, I think that would have been a bigger moment, or at least a more impactful moment.
I'm with Redmond Survivor in that it felt like it was a New York thing.
And that's fair.
So
I get it.
That's why they wanted to do it there.
I get it. It was just weird the way that it was like, he won the title back and then he defended it one. It was just, it felt a little strange on the timeline. I understand why they do it, where they do it, but it was like, you had already won it back. So the bloom was a little bit off the rose. That's what it is.
It's an unsanctioned title. Why did you
ask? It's true. Jack Perry's bus did make it on time to Collision. Can't confirm.
Yeah, that was funny.
What was going on with that? Did they rent a helicopter? Or did they just have a really good drone shot? Like, what are we doing?
There wasn't any traffic. Like they just leave late. Like what was going on?
He started driving at 3 a.m. and hoped he didn't make the morning traffic.
That was hilarious.
Very strange. Like, he's not going to make it on time. And then I read the whole, like, the Collision spoilers, like, oh, they taped that match before the show started, before Dynamite started. I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, it was good stuff. Mox and Darby. This was a fun match. This was everything you'd expect it to be. Mox beating the shit out of Darby Allin, gets the title shot. It's going to be Mox and Danielson in Wrestle Dream. Now, war aside, let's talk about the match itself. I thought it was good. Thought it was fun. Thought Darby looked good. I thought Mox is Moxley. He very rarely looks bad in his matchups, but this delivered. This was a meaningful main event. I think this deserved to go on last. I liked it.
Yeah, it should have gone on last because it was the highest stakes that they could have. Danielson and Nigel it's a cool match. The title wasn't on the line, but it was a years in the making and everything. And it was a cool visual to see. I think you could have put that on last just because of the stuff with Brian and Moxley, where Moxley, it would have made sense to go on first when, okay, where's Brian? Where's Brian? Where's Brian? He doesn't even show up until the very end. He's focused on Danielson or he's focused on Nigel. He beats Nigel and then Danielson cuts the promo of, you want to war, but then you lose the choking with the tie and everything. And that was pretty impactful stuff. So I understood why they placed it the way they did. My bigger issue was Darby and Mox was great. I don't have much more to add to that. The Christian tease when he comes out and then Kip Sabian just like takes the pin and then like Claudio and Pac are like cutting him off. Like, what?
That was weird.
What do they care?
Yes.
Unless it was, we're saving Brian for Moxley. Like that would be the way. But like, are they protecting Kip Sabian? Why do they care if he's chasing Kip Sabian and beats him up? By that time, Danielson probably fled the ring. Like Danielson's not just going to stand in the ring. Let me wait until this guy gets his pen back to sign this contract.
If the story becomes that Mox has to beat Danielson, not Christian, that he has to beat Bryan Danielson
Yes.
for whatever the story is, then this makes sense. But in the moment, I definitely looked at it and was like, that doesn't really work right now. So
That's the point, is the Kip Sabian part didn't make a whole lot of sense. I know Kip is like feuding, but like
Yeah.
if they stood in front of Christian and then it's like, no, because then we get the point of, oh, Moxley has to be okay, I can buy that. But them like cutting off Christian as he's just chasing Kip Sabian and he gets the pin back. Who cares?
you know what the real takeaway from this is? Why didn't Christian pre-sign the contract? Why would?
Are you
why-
allowed to? Yeah, because
why
like you're just
wouldn't you?
executing it.
Yeah, it's your damn contract. All you have to do is hand it in.
Honestly, I
Money in the
question.
bank. Money in the bank. That stupid thing's already signed. You've already it's
Right.
in the stupid briefcase. You don't have to sign shit. You just give it up.
I honestly question Christian's timing here, because that was about the easiest little match Bryan Danielson's had in forever. Like that wasn't the time to go after him. You know, he just wrestled this nice, like relatively safe technical match against Nigel. I understand he's banged up and everything. It was like, oh, he was standing in the ring celebrating. He wasn't laid out. He wasn't gassed or anything. He was good to go. It looked like he could go another 20 minutes. I think in Christian's sauntering, it's not like he's, in a big rush to get to the ring or anything. That was the real issue there. Christian's timing was a little off to me.
Very uncharacteristic of that Christian Cage.
Yeah.
Redmond Survivor saying he has to
games.
date on it.
Mind games.
Could you imagine he's got a date it and he's like, September 20. Hey, what's the date today? Is it the 20? It's the 28th? No, that doesn't sound right. No, my daughter's birthday's next week. What date is it today? September? Really? Shit, I got a car payment to make.
Gotta pull out his phone. Like, oh yeah, the 27th. It says here, 27th. We're good.
All right, let's go. Come on.
I do like he's got to get it notarized. He's going to Excalibur. Are you a notary? Are you Justin Roberts stands up? I'm a notary.
Of course you are. Arkady Ora shows up and she's like, I can do it. I'm like, no, you can't. Next. Lexi Nair. It's Lexi Nair who's a damn
Where's
notary.
Renee? Renee's got to have this. RJ City's just back. Renee. Of course, Renee is a notary.
And then by that point, Danielson's like left the building.
Yeah. Where'd he go?
All right, let's go to our match. And then all of a sudden, he's like, he goes to the ring and like Commander is having a match. What the? Oh, so stupid. This is why our show rules. Where else is there on the show? Is there anything else
Sean
we
is
want
going to
to
join
mention?
us here in a second.
Seems
Just put
bad.
a tweet out. Yeah, just put a tweet out. Let's talk about notaries some more while we wait for Sean. Well, that's Sean if he's a notary.
Maybe Dr. Britt Baker is also a notary.
Say, Sean, are you a notary?
No, but my barber is.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's good to know.
My barber. Did I tell you all the story about my barber?
I don't think so.
No.
Okay.
Does he know Bad Bunny?
So my barber rules, by the way. His nickname is Shaggy. He is a notary. He sells
Wasn't him.
stamps.
Wasn't
He's
him.
offered to sell me weed before. You can fax stuff there. He's got an ATM in there because he doesn't.
Are we sure this is a barber shop?
Dude, he
He's like a
rules.
front.
He rules. But he also like sort of came out to me. Like you could I could tell dude was gay. But he also had like grandchildren and stuff. So clearly he had a relationship with a woman at some point. But the way that he told me was great. He was like getting a divorce. He's taking everything. So my only reply to that was men, right?
Jesus Christ.
And he popped for that. So that was good. But no, he's great. He's incredible. Yeah, anybody that's in Lexington, go to Shaggy's Barbershop. He rules, man. He's incredible. But yeah, I did want to hop on here because like this Lucha Bros Penta thing happened, and it's so funny because like I'm posting my one tweet and the rest of it's just going to be bad faith bullshit from a lot. Oh, I don't want to say the rest of it. There are some people that are being very, very level-headed about this, but If you think it's a bad idea, I understand. If you think, that's the way contracts work, I understand. But I'll tell you what I don't understand, as there's my cat right there. You're going to see a lot of people say, oh, but when WWE does it, and you'll see people say, where's that same energy? People don't like it when WWE does it. They clearly don't like it when AEW does it. But here's the reality of that situation. Whether it be WWE or AEW, that is a contract that talent signed. I don't have to personally like it. I've got a lot of flexibility with my contract, but WWE has done this a ton of times. AEW has done this a ton of times. I know of numerous times TNA has done it as well. I mean, it was a completely different situation, but Josh Alexander publicly, or didn't publicly, but he indicated to TNA he did not want his option year picked up. Well, too bad. They did that. There was one situation, which I feel like I can talk about now. Deonna Purrazzo's option was coming up in TNA, and they allowed her a little bit of wiggle to at least discuss things with some other people before inevitably they picked up that option. But WWE was on a hiring freeze and a whole lot of things then. The Lucha Brothers, there were plans to use them. It's not like they just weren't being used. They were going to be the trios champions. They were going to win the titles at All In. Like, that was the plan for them. And people in AEW and myself, I couldn't believe that I was able to report and I want to put in air quotes, contract tampering story in real time, because I just didn't think that it would be in a situation like that. But there were a lot of people that were being told about this. Like, I was shocked. And tampering isn't really a thing. Maybe torturous interference or something like that is more of a way to go. But like, they were people that AEW has wanted to use. Personally, if I were in that situation and it were abundantly clear that these guys wanted to go, what I would do is say, come in, put over some talent, and then we'll talk about it. But I mean, I get why they're not just like, oh yeah, you negotiated a deal in June. You were talking about a deal in June when your deal wasn't even up until like November. Yeah, I get why they're like, no, we're gonna make this harder for WWE. And I saw people saying they're being held hostage. I was like, come on, they're being paid 6 figures a year. This is not a hostage situation. If so, man, shackle me to the storm drain already. Like, if that's being held hostage. But that's just, it's unfortunate that this is the situation that they are in. And I personally, would I have done it? What I would have done, and I don't know if they have, I would have said, come put people over, and then we'll do this and let you go. But I mean, Penta's been working in Mexico, but like, let's look at their last few matches. They beat Private Party. They beat LIJ. Penta beats the Butcher. He's won his last like 3 matches. Guy, come put somebody over. If Miro wants out, I'd be saying, come put somebody over. Like, the thing that everybody says you won't do, come put somebody over. And then I would probably take that great amount of money and apply it to other talent, whether it be free agents or whether it be retaining your current talent, because that's the reality that AEW is facing. Even their staff and people that you don't see on screen that have had to sign new deals for a lot more money, because that's what you got to do. That's what my Cincinnati Bengals, like, listen, it'd be great to be able to keep Jamar Chase for, $1 to $5 million every year, but that's not how it works. As you grow, as your team grows, as your company grows, you have to take care of the people that got you there. And AEW knows that, because they just paid Swerve a lot of money, like a lot of money. So I see people saying very bad look for AEW optics wise. And I'll ask you this. Why is that? Why was it bad for AEW optics wise? Because people had reported that the Lucha Brothers wanted to go to WWE. Is that why? Because regardless of if they would have done that, this time was going to get added. This time would have been added to the contract, even if they didn't publicly state that they were going, or they didn't publicly state it. If reports didn't emerge that they were going there. WWE has added injury time on the Viking Raiders, for example. They had injury time added. Is that bad optics wise? Well, I don't think so, because they had debilitating injuries. They have added injury time on women that are pregnant before. Like, that's.
I think the optics part comes in of, we know they won out. I do think it would be
Sure.
a bad look for WWE if, we had injury time to these guys and they want out of their contracts. I'm always of the belief that, like, if a talent wants out and you have no actual plans for them, I'm kind of in the same boat you are, Sean, of like, okay, you want out, come in, put somebody over on your way out. We'll let you out, go on, do whatever you want to do. Jade Cargill is an example of, she did business with Chris Statlander in her last match. She left, her contract was up, and she went on to WWE. I thought that was the way to just basically do things, is like, all right, I'll put over Chris.
They did have plans for Lucha Brothers, though. They were putting the trios titles on them. Like, that was going to happen.
Giselle Shaw, by the way, was the same situation. She wanted to release some TNA. They said, come on in, do the tapings, put over Heather Reckless. She's our newest signee. She did it. She left.
Loved that. Loved how they handled that. Giselle was a unique situation because her deal was coming up in a few months anyway.
Yeah.
So for them, they were like, oh, so she'll miss one taping or something like that. Miro, for me, Miro is a completely different boat. He straight up asked for his release. I don't know that the Lucha Brothers have asked for their release. I don't know. Maybe they have, but, and not only that, it's abundantly clear over the past almost 3 years now, either they don't have plans for Miro, they can't get on the same page creatively, or their injury issues, or maybe all three. So that's one where I'm just like, okay, they should have him put somebody over and cut their losses. The Lucha Brothers are guys that they used often and they liked, and not only that, they wanted to keep beyond that. If they were okay with coming in and putting people over, I wouldn't have added the injury time, period. Just period. I know that Tony's philosophy somewhat changed, because originally it was somebody asked for their release and they pretty well got it. Like, that was just the way that it worked. But what Tony would do is Tony would pay them through their deal usually. Like, I'm pretty sure Melanie Cruz sat home and got paid through her whole deal, and Awesome Kong got paid through her whole deal. And that's the way that was. Then there was the Cody thing. And the way that I've always reported this was Cody's team was under the, our deal's coming up, you can just let us go. And AEW were like, well, we've got option years and we don't really want to, but if you want to go, that's the way that's always been presented to me. But listen, I also understand from the other side, AEW is getting needled a little bit about this. They get thrown in their face, like, what goes around comes around, that tweet, and, hearing that they were negotiating with WWE and all that stuff. And I see both sides of this, and I just wish there was a compromise that could mutually benefit both of them. I mean, the reality is WWE does not need to be mutually benefited in this situation. AEW doesn't give a damn about them or what benefits them. You can hopefully benefit Lucha or Penta and Fenix as human beings, though. But I see that somebody said that it would be a hit to talent morale if time is added to Fenix, and the overall perception is that WWE is seen as the evil company that does that. AEW has done that a number of times. I know of a number of deals that have had injury time added to them. I've reported on them. It's not like a new thing. It wasn't a special circumstance applied to them. That's what I'm trying to convey. And I think they would have, they wanted to keep them anyway. They were trying to get them signed months ago. However, that's a thing that Penta and Fenix do not owe AEW. They do not owe AEW. Well, by golly, you've been good to us, so we're just going to stick with you. No, they can go wherever the hell they want. It's just, you got to wait till you're out of contract to do that. So yeah, there's a lot to this one. We're gonna work on it. It's been messy. One thing I can unequivocally say, like the reports that they had signed multi-year deals with WWE, absolutely not true. Now, WWE in an official capacity has never commented on the Lucha Brothers, Penta, or Fenix. I'm pretty sure they know that would not be a smart thing, but there were people who were in the know that straight up told me last week, and I was looking into it. They're like, yeah, Fenix is getting a lot of time added to his deal, and they are absolutely not signed.
When it comes to the option year stuff, that was the big deal with Regal. And Regal saying and Tony Khan saying, like, he had the option year. Regal didn't want them to renew, didn't want them to pick up the option. And then the timeline is whoever you believe when it comes to
timeline's all over the place with that.
Yes. Yeah. But it's a deal because Regal mentioned something this week when he was.
I saw it.
Yeah. So, but yeah, when it comes to the option years on people, we're very familiar with option years, Sean, because it's a big thing in sports. Certainly, it's a big thing in like the NBA. People got player options and they got team options.
Yep.
And people always wonder. My wife is always like, well, why would a player agree to like a team option? Why would they give the team that power to like keep them for the year when they just take a 1-year deal instead of a 2-year deal? And it's like, well, if they do the team option, they might get paid a little bit more on that first year. And then if, they play well, then the team might pick up the option because they don't want to pay them extra. And then, yeah, it's not great, but like, that's what you agreed to. And you may have gotten more upfront by agreeing to a team option, where players obviously like the control because, hey, I'm going to sign a 5-year deal with a player option. Oh, I've really outplayed my 5-year deal. Now I'm going to sign a bigger deal. Or, ooh, I didn't really outplay my 5-year deal or my $5 million deal. I'm going to pick up my option. Now you got to pay me $5 million, even though I'm maybe only worth like $2 million.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people look at wrestling contracts as if they're black and white, and they are not. Like, I'll give you an example. I reported that Saraya re-signed on Thursday. And even people in AEW were like, man, we're getting raked across the coals here. Did she get her option picked up or was she re-signed? And here's what I had always heard. Now, don't quote me on this. But in AEW, they had signed her for 2 years and then an option year. However, they have to inform the talent per their contract like a month, I think 30 days ahead of whether they are exercising that option or not. And that's a contractual obligation to basically tell the talent. That way, it's not a situation like what we did see in WWE, where they were telling people a few days, like Dijak found out like days before his deal wasn't renewed that they weren't bringing him back. And from what I understood, they were saying, we wouldn't mind continuing to work with you, but at the rate that we have this option, don't know if that would work. And they re-signed at a different rate from what I understand. That is an option as well. You can make a lot of things happen with this, and contract stuff is what we've specialized in at Fightful for years. And hopefully we continue to, but this has been a very confusing one. There have been a few that are very confusing of late, including Ricky and all that stuff as well.
Have you seen to go in a completely different direction? Have you seen the Vince documentary? I actually know you have because you put like 15 things for articles in the chat.
What is it now? Sorry.
The Vince documentary.
Yeah, I watched the whole thing. I watched it on the plane, watched it as I traveled. I thought they did a pretty good job. I thought they did a pretty solid job of that. I feel like the last episode should have been more focused on it, and they probably should have. I mean, here are a few takeaways. One, Tony Atlas should be interviewed for everything. Two, this really, even you could tell where they produced it, like before the most recent allegations and then after. When you got even Bonnie Hammer being like, yeah, Shane is nothing like Vince. I think Shane came out looking really, really, really good in this. Especially like stuff where Vince is talking around in circles and he's like, yeah, Shane wanted me to buy the UFC. And then they show how much it sold for. And then Vince is still claiming it was a bad investment. I'm like, okay. Because after they run through a lot of Vince's great decisions and controversies, you're often brought back to, oh no, this is the crotchety, dumb old fuck that we dealt with for the last number of years. That was really, really just stubborn and stupid and all that. And the last episode and the first episode, I think it did a really good job of highlighting how severe some of these claims were, because I wondered how deep they would go into that. And they did. Like they didn't shy away from it. They talked to the reporters. They talked to people associated with publishing the various reports of that. So I thought that they did a pretty good job there with that. Like, you could always do better, but I thought they did pretty good.
Yeah. I think it was certainly the middle episodes. If you know the history of that stuff, there wasn't like too much new information, but I tried to look at it of the lens of, this isn't necessarily for us. This is on Netflix. This is for a broader audience. And when I watch a sports documentary that I don't know a whole lot about, you learn something off of that. Then you talk to people who are like, yeah, I already knew that. It's like, all right, well, I did. This is all new information to me.
For us, it was good for headlines and archived articles. And I'll kind of explain what you guys what it means.
Oh boy.
So here's a good example. The Hawk Tua girl at SummerSlam in early August was our third most visited article this month. Why is that? Because people are looking up Hawk Tua girl, and that's a top Google thing. There's a lot of people here that we don't generally get quotables from. Like Vince McMahon did not do interviews. So when he talks about these controversial subjects in which he has never spoken publicly on, we're covering that from a news perspective. When Bret Hart is saying, well, I was a safe option. Why was I a safe option? Because I'm not getting caught with all the things that they get caught with. That's something that we cover when, these talent and stuff that don't usually speak about these subjects speak about them, even if the interviews are from 3 years ago and they're being released now. Well, that's a quote from them. And then when anybody searches up about that particular topic in a year, 2, 3 years, hopefully they will go to our article about it. That's mainly what it came. You got people speaking candidly about things that happened decades prior.
So this is why I didn't like watching the documentary, is because I am news focused. So
yes.
I'm stopping and starting every 2 seconds, transcribing all of this different stuff. Like, oh, that's an article. That's an article.
Yeah.
And it is tough for me to enjoy that kind of stuff. Like Wednesday, I think I ran 13 articles from this documentary. And there's more coming. I've got about 50 things in my notes that are already done. And it's very tough for me to watch the documentary. Like I can't just sit and watch it. I'm like, oh, this is news. And so that makes it tougher for me to just enjoy a lot of these things.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, as I was assigning those articles, I felt kind of guilty assigning the articles because I was like, man, this.
Oh, I felt mad at you for assigning the articles, so don't worry.
Can't confirm.
But that's the game.
I know, I get it, but that was literally my entire Wednesday. I don't think I did anything else on Wednesday. It was just.
That's okay. You're bonused for it.
Here's my as I should be.
You should be. You should be. I'll have to see how much work everybody else did. But there you go, news team that's watching this. Jeremy will decide your discretionary bonuses there. We have a super chat that I would like to get. Matt Hennessy says, to me, with the Lucha Brothers situation, it does not feel like you're spiting WWE. It feels like you're spiting the talent. Dave had said injury time added the Penta deal now up in November with Ray Fenix up next year. Why burn a bridge? Burn a bridge with who? Burn a bridge with Fenix, with 40-year-old Penta, who is about to go and have his run in WWE. It is absolutely spiting WWE. I think that's why the injury time got added. I don't think it's to spite Fenix and Penta. Maybe I'm wrong, but I do think it's to spite WWE. and how brazen they were in having these conversations. I could listen, man. I could not believe that in writing, I saw someone saying, we've been speaking to so-and-so in June.
I
Couldn't
know, I don't know, but I assume you haven't heard the Swerve Strickland interview with Breakfast Club. And
Saw the clip, yeah.
yeah, well, there's a clip. I posted some stuff on my socials as well. I didn't see the clip because I was doing the show when he posted the clip, but I've listened to the whole interview. So I know the clip. I think the one he posted was talking about market value, which that quote is on our website and on my timeline for people who care. He was also explicitly asked, did WWE try to re-sign you? And Swerve said, yeah, it wasn't like the words re-sign. They asked about my availability. They never contacted me. They contacted my representation. I'm at a stage now where I enjoy the fact that I don't have direct contact. So that was communication has been reached out, is what he said.
Yep.
So it wasn't a direct thing.
I can tell you exactly what happened. That is what I had heard. They asked for his availability, and from what I was told, they were told he signed his multi-year contract live on pay-per-view.
Yeah.
You know his availability. That's what I was told. And then, it was communicated to Tony. I don't know if it was by Swerve or listen, that's something I've done in the past too. When other companies have reached out to me, I've told Jimmy, I ain't going anywhere, but just so you know, they've reached out type of thing. And I think that's what they did. And I think that and Swerve's general attitude and how good he is to be around backstage and on screen and his on-screen work, I think that all culminated in Tony Khan being like, you're getting a big ass deal. You're getting a big ass deal. And this is what I think AEW needs to get better at. Takeshita, Ricky Starks, Daniel Garcia, you clearly see that those are guys that are going to be up here for you in the future. You have to book them, and I'm not saying that they don't or whatever. You have to book them and then sign them like they are, like they're going to be. Let them know.
We've had this conversation today in the past couple of days of too often it feels like guys are just kind of going sideways in AEW. And I brought up the point of Hook and where Hook has the FTW title. It's now retired. Okay, well, what's Hook going to do without the FTW title? Where's the program for him? I think he fits in great with this Danielson Moxley war. If Danielson is looking for guys to go to battle with, I think Hook fits that. Private Party, you've treated like Private Party, no knock on them. They've been slotted where they've been for the past 3 years. Kind of same thing with Commander. Hook is a guy you should be investing in long term. Daniel Garcia, another one. If you can get these guys on screen with these top players, that's your money guys.
Yeah,
right there. Not guys who you've not put any equity in over the past 3 years. Like, let's align them now and put them up top here. Well, nobody really buys these guys as top guys. At least Hook's been at a mid place, but he needs to move up instead of.
I feel like Hook has went down in popularity over the years.
We talked about that of like look where he was earlier this year with Samoa Joe, and then what they've done after the Samoa Joe match.
What I hope is the thing is that subliminally, this is a result on screen of BCC talking about young guys being in the same spot they were years ago. That's what I hope that Hook retiring the FTW title was. And then being like, okay, it's time for us to do that. Because AEW is good about planting seeds like that. To go back to the contract thing, you want a more egregious example, and I'm not trying to make it a WWE versus AEW thing. WWE threatened to add significant injury time to Dax and Cash until they forfeited a number of trademarks that they spent thousands of dollars on. That isn't what I'm seeing here. Now, I'm going to work to find out more in this situation. If there's some, I don't know how else to say it, but some fuck shit going on like that, then I would have a serious problem with it. As of now, I look at it as talent negotiated a deal elsewhere well before they ever should have. Like, listen, if we're talking like the last month and a half of your deal and you're leaving, like, who could really give a shit, right? Like, unless you committed to staying there, who could really care? I mean, that did happen with Andrade, but guess what? Andrade put somebody over on the way out. It's just the guy he put over hasn't wrestled since. And the manager that turned on him got released right after that.
I'm going to say you're just going to renew that rivalry in another company.
Dude's look, Andrade is much better for it. Look at what Andrade's doing right now. He's having one of the best runs of his U.S.-based career with Carmelo Hayes. It's very, very good. But now, if I hear that something's going on like that, that's a problem. That's a problem. Yeah.
I'm just glad that they fixed Andrade's presentation. It's not coming out with the mask and taking 30 seconds to get his name on the screen. Now it's immediate. Now you can get a pop out of it, because I don't think people really knew who was coming down unless you were El Idolo and knew who the hell it was. But I'm glad that they fixed that.
Now I see people saying, imagine if Pro Sports did this. Well, guess what? Pro Sports can't do that because the players collectively bargain.
Yeah, Hulk Hogan fucked that up for everybody.
You bet.
4 decades ago.
One thing he could tell the truth on. The one thing he could tell the truth on.
Oh my! I couldn't believe it. Yeah. Okay. You know what else was nice? We got, and this is very with an asterisk, it seemed like the most honest Hogan we've got in a while. Now that comes with a big asterisk, because I'm still talking about at least a solid half his lies.
Yeah, the bar's still pretty low there.
Yeah, we're talking about him literally saying that. Here's one of my favorite parts. He goes, Andre's back was so bad, and I told him, stay near the ropes. You can't get up. And meanwhile, he's also saying, I didn't know if he was going to let me beat him.
He's been telling that story for years. He's been telling that I didn't know he's going to let me beat him story for years.
Hogan is a complete goofball. He would have whipped Andre the Giant's ass in a shoot at that point. Like, there's Andre, come on. What are we doing here? Now, listen, Iron Sheik would have fucked him up. But Iron Sheik was always business. What are we doing here?
My favorite thing is when they're talking about the Andre slam. It's like, first person to slam Andre. Earlier in the same episode, they show a clip of Andre getting slammed.
Wasn't it by Larry Zbyszko, no less?
Like, we've seen clips in this literal same episode.
The editing. Meltzer ruled on that show.
He was very good.
The
editing was very good in the documentary. It was well produced. I'll give him that. Very well produced. And I've listened to a couple interviews with Shoemaker talking about the kind of the ins and outs of putting it all together. And it was very well done.
I thought Dave was incredible. I mean, Dave, especially like as a historian, like one of my favorite things to listen to, guys, and I encourage you guys to do this. There's a show called The Lapsed Fan, and they did, I don't know if it was ahead of WrestleMania 30 or when it was, but they had individual coverage of every one of those WrestleManias with Dave. And you can find them all on YouTube, and they are phenomenal listens, because I am not a historian. I will never try to be, that, and will never pretend I'm that. It is so valuable to know all that information, and that Dave has retained over these years. It's just really, really good. Please go look that up. It's The Lapsed Fan, and like 30 years of WrestleMania with Dave Meltzer. It was so good, man. But they just cut right to Dave debunking all their stuff. Oh, man.
Yeah, they're talking about the WrestleMania 3 numbers in the chat.
93,000. It was 70,000.
Yeah.
73,000.
And I mean, there was one thing where Dave had reported that Vince appearing on screen right after the allegations was an FU to everybody. I've reported this before. Vince literally went through that curtain and yelled, "Fuck him." Like
Yes,
that's what
I remember that.
that's what he did.
I remember
And so that moment gained me like 2 new sources. Him saying that and it getting around backstage, because there were some people that were like, yeah, he's going to fight this and all that. And then when they heard that he said that, there were a couple people that contacted me and they're like, okay, I got to extend my feelings on this situation because this was a little bit gross. Oh man. You know, it's weird because you watch that and you see a person that you effectively grew up with, because my God, anybody else that you were spending 2 to 4 hours a week with as a child, you know, you've got an affinity for. You're watching it because you like their show or something like that. And to see that so many of the things that he did and said on TV were just truly mirroring real life situations, and him effectively playing out his fantasies under the guise of creativity was gross. It was really gross, because now you can look back at all of that and say, okay, well, he was probably doing this just because he liked it and he wanted it. And it's something everybody suspected, but people like that love their plausible deniability, right? They love their ability to be like, well, no, actually, it's a work. It's a complete work that I'm doing all this stuff. And he did it so much, and I'm just talking about on screen, that I completely forgot about the Ashley Massaro segment where he's throwing shit at her and screaming at her and getting in her face and like screaming these ridiculous things. Like, so much stuff that I forgot that it happened. Unreal, man. I forgot that when Sable came back, that Stephanie referenced the lawsuits. Could you imagine today, Jeremy Lambert, who covers this show every week, could you imagine?
I mean,
them bringing back Dawn Marie and them and Nick Khan being on screen. Well, you know, she sued this company. You know, all that stuff. Like, I was
it
shocked.
it was so, and you could now see it clearly rewatching the documentary. He felt like untouchable. And I think it really started after the steroid trial, because like after that, it just felt like I'm going to throw everything in their face and there's not anything they can do about it. And they did touch on like where people, he brings people back and he's like, yeah, they look at it as it was like a challenge to Vince. Like, you can say all of this stuff and in the end, you're still going to come back here. And it's like, it's almost like he has a little bit more respect for you that he does that, but it's still a power thing as well. Yeah. It's like, yeah, you can do all of this stuff, but in the end, you're going to come back here. And then, yeah, I'm basically going to throw it in your face that like, hey, you sued us. How'd that work out for you? Where you at now? Oh, you're here. That's right. You're here.
Yeah. Oh, man. Me and Jimmy are going to review this show either early next week or on the hump next week. But yeah, we're going to review it at some point, but catch you guys later.
Bye, thanks, Sean. Do you think he had fun in New York?
Didn't ask him if he could see MVP's debut.
That's my new favorite thing. He did a whole thing on the ROH post show last night with them. Oh God! Credit where credit's due. Whenever I've gone to a TNA show, I've always been able to see everything.
What? So for those that don't know what we're referencing here, I'm not trying to. But like, was it everybody? Because they were all in the same section.
Area. Yeah, okay. They were all in the same section. Some obviously are further. Okay, so for those who don't know, Stephanie Chase, who
does great work
and stuff and does great work. No lie. She pointed out on Twitter, she's like, this is where they put us. And it was basically the obstructed view area where you don't see the stage. They were basically behind the stage. They saw tarps. They could see the ring, but above the ring, there was no scoreboard for them to see any of the stuff that was happening on the show. They were just seeing the ring. So as a result, a segment like the MVP debut, which was on the stage and not in the ring, meant you couldn't see anything. And that upset her, and that upset other members of media as well. She was just she was willing to publicly say so, which I think, by the way, was a really smart thing to do. You should do that. You should call that out, because listen, I made the reference to Money in the Bank. I did not like where they sat us for Money in the Bank. I understood that the show was sold out and they didn't have space for as many media members to sit in the lower bowls, but like, we couldn't see much from where we were, and the video screens were obstructed as well. That's, however, not as bad as what they did to media at Grand Slam, where all you could see was the ring. When you are doing this job, and it is a job, we don't get paid much. And some of these things are, it's nice to get a free ticket to an event. I get it. We're all fans to a certain degree. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing this. If you're covering sports in any sports, yes, you're getting it for free, but you sit in the press box. You're not there to be a fan and watch your favorite players. You're there to watch the event, and you're there to see the game unfold and comment and write about the actual event. That's what we're there for. A free ticket is nice, but we're there to do the work, which is to write and discuss what's going on, the presentation, the show, the feeling, all that. It was the way that you're supposed to do your job. And they didn't give her, or anyone in media for that matter, the ample opportunity to properly do their job. They could have been put opposite the ring, or opposite the stage in an area up there. That would have been better. I get it. They had certain areas cordoned off, but they shouldn't have been in the corner. I think that was just a really bad mistake and a really silly thing that that PR or whoever did it gave them those tickets in that spot. Shouldn't have been there.
The obstructed view is, when I first saw it, I'm like, well, she can still see the ring. Everybody can still see the ring. Like, all right, it sucks. It's not great, but you can still see the ring. And that's where all the action is going to take place. Where it certainly became an issue was the MVP segment. I got Sean messaging me of like, who was on stage? What did they say? So it was, not only could they not really see that segment, they couldn't really hear it either. Sean's like, did MVP mention business? And I'm like, yeah, that was his big closing line. Did you not hear that he said, I want to talk business with Swerve? Like, no. I was like, wow, that ain't great. So that's where like it certainly becomes an issue. It's a free ticket. I get it. But there's a give and take with this kind of stuff. And you're getting coverage by giving this free ticket. And if the coverage suffers because of this, that's an issue. You don't want people's coverage to suffer. You want to give them the best access to the best coverage possible, especially when it's something simple as, let's see the stage. You know, I understand you don't have to give them access to everything, but you kind of need to give them access to watching the show. That seems pretty. Otherwise, just stay home. You can watch the show at home.
So what's even funnier about this, or, you know, funny or egregious, depending on where you sit in wrestling media and what you do. I went to the first Grand Slam. I did not go as accredited media. I went as a fan because I wasn't as involved as I am now. I went with our friend Jamanika. She's also more involved now than she was when we went. Our seats were a few sections over from where they were sat last night. Now, if you remember the first Grand Slam, there were a lot more people there, different setup. They had the low to the floor. We could see the behind, so we could see the tunnels and the wrestlers going up and out. Like, I posted the photo on my Twitter not too long ago of that event. That's where we were sitting, and we paid for those seats. We paid about $35 each for those seats. Media was sat opposite Hardcam in, like, not, it wasn't a box or anything, but it was like in those higher level 100 seats, or the higher whatever. Like, they were given proper seats to see everything. What changed? Like, obviously there are fewer people and they brought up, you know, it's like the setup changed, but like, what happened that they were put just for the show? They were put in this weird spot, because other shows, they're normally put, you know, the media is normally put in the lower bowl 100s off to the corner, so that we see the ramp is over there, the ring is over here. Like my photos from Forbidden Door, for example, it's very clear that they gave us seats that we could see everything. Our obstructed view was very minimal. It was someone saying it's funny and outrageous. Like it's everything. It's everything.
I do.
Yeah, it's strange.
I mentioned this to the wife when we were watching the show on Wednesday. I felt a little disappointed with this show and like the aesthetic of it, because we're so used to the long grand ramp for Grand Slam, and like this just, the tunnels were on top of the ring almost, and I was like, man, this show always felt like it was grand and like, Grand Slam, like it felt like this big deal. And look, they drew a great crowd. They drew one of their biggest Dynamite crowds to date, but it also does highlight of kind of the downturn things have been over the last couple of years. And I know people don't always like when we harp too much on the bad of AEW. The show was great. I got no complaints at all about the show. The actual show was great. But you are kidding yourselves if you don't look at the show and where it was 2 years ago and look at the show and where it is now and be like, something has not clicked in the last 2 years. And what is it? What can we do? How can things turn around? Like it felt like it was just a regular TV show. Like it felt like a good hot Dynamite crowd. It did not feel like it was Grand Slam. It did not feel like it was Kenny Omega, Bryan Danielson from 3 years ago, where the company was on complete fire. Again, the big ramp, it just felt, it was big time feel to it. And I thought Wednesday's show was just like, hey, this is like a good episode of Dynamite. The lighting was actually good because they weren't trying to, show that they have less people in the building.
This is the first thing I noticed. The lighting, other than the stage, the lighting rig was very low, and that's what tipped me off to just the big cavernous building being like shrunk down for presentation. Yeah, that's what did it for me, because I saw how low the lighting structure was, and I was like, that feels weird. They don't have a second level in a venue that I know for a fact has a second and a very deep second level. That was what made it strange to me.
Yeah, they kept showing like the wide shots to really show that the building and how it was full, full to the way it was set up. So like that was good, the way they showed it. And if you were watching for the first time, it was like, oh, this is, this looks like a good crowd. It's a hot crowd. The show is very good. If you've been following the company for 5 years, like we have, and to me, I was just like, man, this used to feel like a bigger show, and now it's still a good show. It still feels a little bit bigger than your normal Dynamite, but it lacked what it had the past couple of years. And I was just a little disappointed. It's not, I mean, you can fault a lot of people. We've talked about it a lot throughout the years on the show. I was largely disappointed for just like the company. It's like, this used to be a big thing, and now it just feels like another Dynamite. Takes nothing away from the actual show. Again, actual show, all the wrestlers, they did great. I think some stuff is hitting very well in AEW. I hope the stuff that is hitting continues to be expanded upon and continues to be followed up on. And the stuff that's not hitting, I hope they find a way to mitigate that or make it better.
So what's really weird about the thing I just said? This is the photo from the event.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's not only cool, but it shows there were so many more people than the lighting rig being so low made it look like.
Right.
That's what's so strange to me, because you can see people up in that deep 200s into even what looks like a 300s. That's what's weird to me. Anyway, I wanted to point it out there because I remember seeing this shot and be like, LOL fisheye land, which like everybody uses the stupid fisheye, but it was the idea that like there were actually a lot more people there than even TV made it look like. That's what it was. Timecock should have been built. If Timecock was on the show, instant sellout. Instant gratification sellout.
I don't know. I haven't seen too much when it came to Collision, and I haven't seen Collision at all. I haven't seen much of like discussion around it. We know we won't spoil anything for anybody. We found out who Jack Perry's opponent was. That's, it was fine. But when I was reading through the spoilers, here's a spoiler for anybody. I'm not giving away anything. Okada and Sammy Guevara closed. Okay. I would have thought they closed with Hangman and Jeff Jarrett because that was a selling point for that show. I don't know if people kind of...
They taped out of order. They absolutely taped things out of order.
Oh, sure. Sure, they taped out of order.
That's why that match went so late.
Yeah, I mean, sure they taped out of order, but like it's not going to look great of, oh, the building's half empty for this Okada match. Like, yeah, it's a little concerning. That's why I thought Hangman and Jarrett, but that's a long show because it doesn't end until midnight. And like, it's not like it's a pay-per-view that ends at midnight. You know what I mean? Like, you're not waiting around for, oh, here comes Swerve and Hangman and this big blood feud. All right, yeah, it's 11:30. Cool, let's do this. It's 11:30 and you're like, do I really want to see Okada bitch his way through a Sammy Guevara match? Like, is that what I'm here for?
You're sitting there just kind of like, when's the last train? I've had that before too. That's not fun. Here's a good example. SummerSlam 2025, New Jersey, 2 nights. That's going to mess up your travel plans. You're not going to be able to get home if WrestleMania 35 is any indication. I made the joke. I'm looking up the blueprints to MetLife Stadium so I could find a place to sleep that night.
So people talk about that, and I think we've talked about it before, of like just kind of sending fans home happy, and it's not the best feeling in the world when you're leaving after the show is over and like you're missing part of the show, but you're missing stuff that you don't care about, but you're seeing other people leave and it's like, oh, they don't care about this. Why do I care about this as well? Like this local stuff that I know a lot of people don't fully put a whole lot of stock into, but I don't think it's something that could be ignored when the crowds are what they are, like if everything's hot, it's easy to ignore this stuff. But when things start cooling down, it's stuff you got to actually pay attention to and be like, okay, how can we fix this? So for these Collision shows, when it's like, all right, you get the end of Collision, here's some ROH matches, and you got people leaving during ROH. It's like, well, I didn't really feel satisfied with that whole show. We talked about, hey, we're advertising Jon Moxley, Bryan Danielson, and Hangman Page. Here's Jack Perry versus Christopher Daniels. Enjoy that. It's like, oh, all right. That kind of sucks.
Yes. Like Speed Punk saying it was also in the middle of the week. It's not a Saturday, which is true. People would have maybe stuck
good
around.
Either.
Yeah, people would have stuck around more. And kudos to AEW. This is something that you and I and others have harped on for years. When you're doing a show like Grand Slam, where you're double taping and doing, 2 hours live, and then you've got 2 hours of tape content to do it before, do it after. That's what the Rampage, that was for years. When Rampage was a 2-hour Grand Slam special, we were saying, please, for the love of God, if you're going, the first year they did it, they taped Rampage right after Dynamite, and it was like 30-minute crossover, and then they did it, and you didn't get out of the venue till 1 a.m. This time they got smart about it, and maybe last year too, I can't remember, but they taped a couple of matches before Dynamite, and then Dynamite went live for 8 to 10, and then they did whatever was left. I don't know how much that played into their plans or how the crowd showing up played into what they wanted to put out there at what time. Maybe they wanted to have a fuller house before, but they couldn't get it. I don't know. So as a result, I think they only did 2 matches for Collision before Dynamite, and then afterwards, everything else had to get taped. So I wish you would do more of that. I wish more of that would exist.
This is stuff that can be easier to figure out than... I don't want it to fully come across of, oh, AEW can't do anything right. This is nothing to do with what they're presenting on television. Absolutely nothing to do with what they are presenting on television. This has to do with a live fan experience and marketing and retaining an audience locally. That's what this has to do with. And that's stuff that part of it is television of like, hey, if guys you're presenting are hot, then guys you're presenting are hot. But a lot of it is just how they're pacing shows, how they're marketing shows, when they're putting on certain things. A WWE show, they give you 2 matches before. They're whatever, maybe they're taped for Superstars or Main Event or whatever the friggin' show, Speed, whatever they give you. They give you a couple matches before. If it's Raw, you get Raw. That's 3 hours. You're done. You don't really get anything after Raw. If it's SmackDown, they might bring in Jey Uso, or maybe Cody Rhodes will wrestle if he didn't wrestle on the night. And so you get the show, and then you're getting a top talent in one match, and you're still out of there by like 10:30. They ain't going till 11 or anything like that. You're not getting, I don't think it would be a good live experience for WWE if you do, let's say you do SmackDown. Because they did this and it wasn't good. So we actually have proof of this. You do SmackDown and then here's 205 Live. Nobody wanted to watch that. Everyone was like, yeah, I'm out of here.
But the way that they would try to keep you is by announcing we're doing Charlotte versus Asuka, whatever the hot the hot match was at the time. And they're like, it's our main event. It's our main event. And people were like, well, no, it's not. We already watched the main event.
Yeah, that's the point.
You're right.
It did not work.
You're right. It maybe kept a few, but it didn't keep many.
No, I went to those SmackDown shows. The one time I stuck around, I think it was Cedric and maybe Tony Nese on 205 Live. Like, you know what? This is probably going to be a really good match. I want to watch this match. But otherwise, I'm like, I don't really care to watch this kind of stuff. Like, nobody wants to stick around after seeing, here's Bryan Danielson, here's Hangman Page, here's Jon Moxley. Go watch the premier athletes. No knock on them. Like, they're actually something good on ROH.
Wow. Can't believe you're burying the premier athletes. Our interview with them is going to be awkward.
They get buried all the time on Collision. I ain't doing anything that Tony doesn't book every Saturday, okay?
That's true. That's true. So, good for you.
You know what I mean? Like, you've seen the stars. No one, after you see the stars, you don't do a band. Taylor Swift doesn't play. And then you bring out, no offense to this person, people might actually stick around. Taylor Swift doesn't play, and then you don't bring out Rebecca Black. If you want to hear Friday, you're not going to stick around to watch Rebecca Black's whole set. Maybe you will. People in our chat will. They're crazy. They're all the sickos that are appealing.
That's right. They love more than just Friday.
Y'all can't name me a single other Rebecca Black song other than Friday.
Talking about me or the chat?
Everybody.
That's also true. However, but her shows are very fun, damn it. She puts on the party.
I mean, I believe it. Look, she probably does a good show. She ain't following Taylor Swift. She's just not.
She could if she tried.
That's the whole point. No, it's not. Don't bring out Metallica. And then this is your alley, Joel. Who would be like, yeah, I've seen Metallica. Why am I going to stick around for?
No. You're not going to catch me on this one. I know too many people in that community that I'll feel bad afterwards.
Wow, coward.
Also, there are a lot of bands. But anyway.
Coward.
Oh, man. Literally Saturday.
That's what follows Friday.
That's Rampage. That should have been the theme for Rampage this entire time. Friday by Rebecca Black.
Oh, I'd watch that show way more.
Right.
If that was the theme.
If they're going to do Saturday Night by Elton John for a while, then we should have gotten, for a while. They stopped. But, we could have started with Rebecca Black doing Friday. Got to get down on Friday. 36 million views, Rebecca Black Saturday.
Did we miss a super chat?
We did. Matt Hennessy had sent something as a follow-up saying he didn't mean to make it a WWE versus AEW thing when discussing
that gets a lot of traction.
Yeah, that's fine. Listen, I got to change the thumbnail now because we spent quite an adequate amount of time talking about this. And I had told you before the show started, I wanted to wait until Sean had anything on this injury time being added. Clearly, this is now factual. It is accurate. Yeah, because like I told you before, I had now heard both sides tell me that that the injury time is being tacked on and then it's not. And clearly now it has. And here we are. Yeah, people like Imagine Dragons. That's the
I
problem.
was gonna say, Imagine Dragons got some like hits. So like, I don't think that's the best example. Kind of different.
Got to use some shitty, just like no, just not shitty, but just like some new band that doesn't tour or like this is their first show ever. You don't do it like that.
Yeah, Imagine Dragons got some. They got some bangers out there. Different genres, certainly. Like different genres.
Yeah.
You know.
Speaking of genres and bangers, we got it right. Raw, the first Netflix episode, reportedly, the Intuit Dome in LA. Yeah. We called it. Tell your friends. I mean, it felt pretty obvious. Just saying. All the Netflix people were at Raw this past week, so that was nice. Why were they at Raw? Certainly not for the new Mr. McMahon documentary that was dropping 2 days later. I thought that was very funny. It was like, don't mention the doc. Don't mention the doc.
They were smart to have all those Netflix people there, and they're like, you know what we're gonna give these people? You know what we're gonna give these Netflix? We're gonna give them.
I saw it.
And they're gonna love it.
And they did.
And the crowd was, and the Netflix people were, and man, it's now gonna be all the time on net.
Net yeet flicks. Yeet flicks. Meanwhile, you've got sexy bunny Rhea Ripley. Yeet. Oh man.
That was a smart decision, though.
Like, it was a smart decision. I'm not gonna. I thought. And again,
imagine if Braun Breaker had won, which I think would have been a fine decision, and the storytelling would have been fine. But like that crowd is like disappointed. It's like, oh man, the Netflix people are seeing that. It's not going to change anything. Like they signed the deal they signed. Instead, they're like, no, we're going to show these Netflix people, look at this crowd. Look what we've done to this crowd with this decision. Political game. Paul always played it well.
Before we do the SmackDown preview, Joe Hendry and Nick Nemeth is official for Bound for Glory. Hendry won. JBL's going to turn Nick Nemeth.
Who the hell told you tonight was open mic night, bitch?
We're all going to be so sad when Joe Hendry loses another title match on TNA. Go watch my post show. I talked about it last night. I just want to put it out there so I can promote that I did a post show last night on the main channel. Motor City Machine Guns are going to be Bound for Glory too. Anyway, SmackDown preview.
They should do To Yeet or Not To Yeet on Netflix, and it's like a Netflix short. They're going to have those one day. I guarantee it.
Press your luck. You remember Whammy?
Oh yeah, that show's still on. That show's
no whammy, no whammy, no whammy. Yeet. That should be it. You got to do the big yeet.
they're gonna present Jey Uso or whoever. And it's like, would you yeet this or not yeet this? But nobody knows what yeeting actually means.
Yeet yacht.
Anymore. Yeet yacht.
Yeet yacht. Boy. And then someone will be like, more like the skeet yacht.
No, stop it. The yeet yacht's good. That's just shit. What's the name of that show on? Oh my god, I'm blanking all over the place.
What are you going for here?
I'm
give me the rough outline.
It's a show about yachting, and they follow like the yachties, and there's Captain Sandy, and I forgot the other captain's name. I'm completely drawing.
Gilligan's Island?
Oh, it's a reality show. It's on Bravo. There we go. I remembered Bravo yachting show. Below Deck. Below Deck is what it's called.
Deck. I remember you loved that.
That was a fucking struggle.
Can you tell we're at the end of our show?
Now go home and smoke some more crack.
I think I will. SmackDown tonight. Michin looks for retribution on Piper Niven. That's got to be a bit. That's got to be
hard at that headline.
Michin's got to be so pissed. Andrade once again goes to war with Carmelo Hayes in the never-ending story. Bayley takes on Naomi to determine who will challenge Nia Jax, and I'm sure Nia Jax won't get involved at all and cause a triple threat. And Solo Sikoa's back. He took a week off to lick his wounds.
Remember when they did the like Roman Reigns returns graphics and it was like every 2 weeks? They should start doing that shit with Solo.
Someone posted like a whole like collage of every time he did it.
Yeah,
That was the best. Anyway, that's SmackDown tonight. Looks like it'll be a pretty good show. And of course, Collision's already been taped, so you can find that lineup. Most of it's already been announced. Some of it looks like a lot of fun. Some of it is it's going to be what it is. So go watch that. Rampage was taped last Saturday. Last Wednesday or Saturday? Last Saturday after Collision.
After Collision, yeah.
It was taped last Saturday. So basically, again, your timeline is
time cock.
You're really time cocking this whole thing.
People who watched it on Saturday can now watch it tonight, just like time cock
on Peacock. Oh God! Anything you want to promote before we get out of here for real?
Do I ever promote?
Sometimes.
Anything?
You didn't drop the audio for the spotlight. I saw that it didn't happen.
And then it got deleted.
It got deleted?
Yeah, I don't know who deleted it, but
that's very upsetting. I'm not happy. I didn't get my spotlight. I didn't get my Steven Jensen fill. My Steven Jensen getting trolled fill. That's what I didn't get.
Trolled a little bit. We talked a lot about the Vince documentary. So
that's true.
Yeah.
Well, I think it got deleted. I can't believe we have to do that now. Anyway, for Jeremy Lambert, I'm Actual Pro. We're back on Monday, 10 a.m. Huh?
I guess that means you need to shut the fuck up. That's what I do if I don't have no army. I would fuck up. Shut the fuck up.
Ladies and gentlemen, friends behind the binary, we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.